what are the different types of curiosity? In other words, like just so that people know, like, okay, we understand curiosity. Most laymen kind of think about curiosity at one level, but is
Mhm.
there a way for someone to think about curiosity within, like, are there branches within curiosity to kind of help,
Well,
go a little deeper? Yeah.
there's lots of terms of state and trait and intrinsic and all these different terms, but I think if you look at really, there's that fleeting kind of curiosity, like, huh, that was interesting, and then you move on, and then there's that deep, thoughtful, I want to explore this in more depth. There's also curiosity that's not super helpful, like how to get to the bottom of Candy Crush.
Yeah.
And there's curiosity that's super helpful, like let's build a new innovative process through maybe utilizing software or open source like Kickbox or something out there that could make the organization explode. So I think, what's interesting, it ties into a lot of what you read about curiosity and creativity are similar.
Mhm.
If you think about, I think George Land's TED Talk, he talks about if the problem is that we come up with these great ideas, but then we over criticize them so fast. So it's like you're stepping on the gas and you're stepping on the brake at the same time, and you're not going anywhere because you're doing them both at the same time. So the different kinds of curiosity aren't as important as knowing, recognizing what is our curiosity, how can we let it bloom without stepping on this brake,
Yeah.
and recognize that this is something that's tied into the value that organizations are trying to improve and to the bottom line. And I think a lot of leaders, uh, know this. I mean, it's intuitive, but the problem is that there's not a ton of data out there. And for younger generations, what's interesting for Gen Z and, even a little older, and they they're sometimes stereotyped into, oh, well, they're super curious, they know all the technology, and they're just geniuses, and you don't have to work with them. But sometimes that's not the case at all. Every generation has people who love it and who don't necessarily love technology. For example, they might find it helpful, or they may rely on it too much. And in my research, one of the problems I found with what inhibits curiosity, other than fear and people around us, our environment, and the voice in our heads that tell us stuff, is technology. And sometimes it's under or overutilization of it. And sometimes younger generations have always relied on this stuff because that's all they've ever known.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to see the different impact of the generations. Because I spoke for Forbes I'm thinking 10 years ago, maybe. And I was assigned the topic, and the topic was the future of the workplace for the generations, of different generational impact of how it's going to be in the future. And I
Mhm.
go back sometimes and I watch what I said at that time. And it's pretty much the same then as it is now. We have a lot of generations in the workplace. You have the older ones thinking the younger ones are, maybe don't get it. And the younger ones thinking the older ones maybe don't get it. And I've talked to top leaders. I remember interviewing billionaire Ken Fisher about how he mentors people. And he told me that he would take one generation apart only when he would pair people, because you get such divides between, if you millennials mentoring a Gen Z, or a Gen Z's, doing something with a Gen X, you're having quite a division. But I really think that in general, we're seeing all generations have the same situation in terms of what happens to our curiosity. We all peak around age 6,
Mhm.
and it tanks. It just drops. And it's because we all get into the education system. We all have these environmental issues of people around us who may talk us out of things. It leads to the voice in our head talking us out of things, which leads to fear, which we don't do things. So it's not that it's just Gen Z or Gen X or Gen Y or whatever the next one's going to be. It's that we all experience that. That's the one thing that unites us.